Good afternoon, muchachos. Happy Thursday, December 21st, our last day before break. So we're going to move this along so you guys can maximize your work time here and hopefully get things knocked out and have a nice week and a half vacation from the grind. Obviously, it's been brought to my attention. You should have received a message from me on Tuesday regarding the article that I had posted on Friday regarding the correlation between crime and education. And it came to my attention yesterday from a student that the article is no longer accessible and you need some sort of login code. Quite frustrating. That website, a law website, apparently has switched to some sort of subscription basis, even though it was usable last week and at the beginning of this week. But it is what it is. We're still going to cover the information. You were supposed to do a couple of discussion questions for today. I'm filming this on Tuesday night, so obviously there are not going to be some answers in there. But if you watch the video on Tuesday, or from today actually, you should have been able to answer at least the first question, which again, explain how education or the process of going to school lowers crime rates. Well, we've talked already about the human capital theory. If kids are going to school, they'll have better economic opportunities. They shouldn't have to resort to crime because they'll have a job and it'll pay them and they'll be able to buy what they need and survive and live. Everything's fine. Not to mention, there's an additional component to the human capital theory. If you have obtained an education, a career, a degree, crime is going to be too costly for you. It's not just a matter of paying a fine or a fee or potentially going to prison or jail or community service, but it's giving up something that you've earned. It's a bigger loss. We also know that kids going to school directly incapacitates them, right? We talked about last time idle hands and the devil's workshop. If kids are occupied, then there's less chance that they can get into trouble, no question. We also viewed or discussed rather, being in an environment in which there are trained professionals that have some experience and some knowledge about indicators regarding mental health issues, behavioral issues, socialization issues that again can get that student some help to hopefully minimize any sort of deviant behavior. But the last question, again, if you couldn't read the article because you lost access to it because they've switched to a subscription basis, the last question might be difficult for you to answer. And the question is, what may be threatening the effectiveness of education in regards to minimizing crime? That's what we're going to talk about today. Now, we've talked about the human capital theory. I mean, if you go to school and you get a job, you go to school rather, you get a degree, you get some added training, it sets you up to get a job that will hopefully pay you more. And you guys have been shown since you were in kindergarten how much more money you will make if you go to college and get a degree compared to if you just have a high school diploma or you don't have a high school diploma. The last part of the article really calls into question the success of education. Thomas Sowell is an economist, spent quite a few years working in a Democratic president's administration on the economy. And after the fact, he kind of became a critic of democracy, and he's become a critic of education altogether. Thomas Sowell argues that this concept of going to college, this belief of going to college and you being inundated since you were a small child of going to college is not anything about expanding the economy. It's not anything about making you guys more trained, more suitable, more knowledgeable for the economy or for a better, more thriving society. He argues that it's another industrial complex, that it is the education industrial complex. It's the overlap of the industry of education combined with government officials perpetuating this belief that we need to go to a 4-year school. I mean, let's address the overlapping interests. I'm a school teacher. I'm an educator, right? Am I telling students that they need to go to school that they need more education to keep myself employed. Am I telling kids that they need to go, and I don't tell kids they need to go to college. Now, let's be clear about that. Not everyone needs to go get a 4-year degree. You can make more money than me swinging a hammer and twisting a screwdriver. But nevertheless, am I a part of some cabal perpetuating this myth that students need to go on to a 4-year degree to keep my comrades at the post-secondary level, the colleges, the universities, the community colleges, to keep them employed? He also goes on to say that education today is more or less reducing their expectations, and that the reason why kids have to go to college is because the standards for a high school diploma are so much lower, that we're this factory of focusing on social and emotional learning. We care more about your feelings versus giving you the knowledge and the skills that you need to know to be successful in life. And there's some validity in that. But we're setting you guys up for failure. And even if you were to finish high school, you're ill-equipped to go on to college in regards to time management, financial management, being able to write, think critically, engage in debate. He's arguing that it's all a hoax. I mean, we think about this. You can see the stats on here. 60% of high school graduating classes. So this year, you guys are seniors, you will graduate. What he's saying is 60% of your graduating class will go off to college. Will go off to a 4-year school. Statistics show that about 60% of the kids who start college will finish. You have your class of, we'll say, 200 kids. 60% of those 200 kids are going off to college. And of that 60% of kids who go off to college, he's saying 60% of that number, so just over half, will be able to finish. So he's saying that high schools today are ill preparing kids for the future. And then we got to look at the impact of the ill prepared for the future. If college is your ticket to being financially successful in the world and you can't get it, that leads to a problem. In addition to being saddled with debt and not having the means of paying it back, it saddles you with the problem of not being able to survive because you're not making as much money. And even if you do graduate from college and you get a degree, that doesn't guarantee that you're going to be successful in your job. It doesn't guarantee that you're going to have the job that you're qualified for. In this country, we deal with a problem of something called underemployment, not unemployment, but underemployment, meaning you might have a degree, you might have a Juris Doctorate to be a lawyer, you might have a master's in business administration to be some sort of executive officer, but that doesn't guarantee that you're going to have that job. I could go get a PhD in history or in finance or in business administration. That doesn't mean I'm going to be a professor. What he's getting at here and what this article is getting at is, from sociology that you may or may not be with me for next trimester, is something called strain theory. And again, we're talking about why people commit crime. We have a huge population of people incarcerated. Why? Well, one argument is this strain theory. Now, we've already talked about, I'm going to go back up here and review this a little bit. Society always has this ability to instill its beliefs on its people, right? We've talked about internal motivation and external motivation. Again, think that the little Spartan tickets or the school store, right? It's this concept of control theory. If we can get people to believe in our society, be involved in our society, be committed to the process, be attached to it, there's less chance that people will deviate from what's expected. Well, strain theory goes one step further. If people are doing what they're supposed to be doing, going to school, getting an education, bettering themselves, earning their opportunity to be successful in life, and then it doesn't happen, we're going to have some deviance. I mean, think about that. I mean, I'm sure at some point in time in your educational career, you thought to yourself, what is the point of this information? Why am I studying this? Why am I studying biology or evolution or algebra? What am I going to use this for in the future? Like, if you don't see the use of it, if you don't believe in it, if you don't understand the objective or the importance of it, you're not going to do it. That applies to life. What's the point of going to school? What's the point of going to college? What's the point of doing X, Y, and Z if no matter what, I don't have a job? I'm not going to get a job. It leads people into questioning the process. It leads people into questioning society. It leads people into questioning the values that a society has, and it results in deviance, which is, at the most basic term, not doing what society expects of you. I mean, that's what deviance is. You can talk about murder and rape and theft and larceny and whatever. It's all deviance. You're not supposed to do those things. Whether it's jaywalking or not having a job or not paying your bills or wrecking property, it's all deviance. And it comes from people in sociological perspectives. It can come from people gaining this understanding or making this realization that even if they do what society is telling them to do, even if they follow the norms, they're still out of luck. They still have no chance. And that's really the question here the answer rather to question number 2. What is threatening the effects of education? Education used to be the golden ticket, the golden goose to success in life. That's not the case anymore. That's not as much of a guarantee anymore. So could that potentially be causing defiance in our society? What do we got here? You've got a video guy. You got a video and a video guy. We're gonna cycle back and get a little closer look at the relationship between politicians and corporations. Politicians and the money they receive from corporations. Or if it's not from a corporation specifically, it could be from the people who are running corporations. Citizens United, it was a Supreme Court case from 2010 that really changed the game when it came to politics and how money could be used, where money was coming from. And it's had a relatively significant impact in the last, 13 going on 14 years since it's been in place. So you're going to watch a documentary on the Koch brothers. If you were in politics and government with me last trimester, we talked about the Koch brothers and George Soros. Huge financial donators to campaigns and political issues. So we're going to look at the Koch brothers and their role in a gubernatorial election from the state of Wisconsin not that long ago. It's a shorter video. It's only about an hour and 20 minutes long, so you could knock this out before winter break. And there's a series of questions to answer with it. This is where we will pick up when we return. We have a short week when we return. We have Monday and Tuesday off. We obviously do not see each other on Wednesday, but we'll meet on Thursday, talk about this video, talk about a potential solution to minimizing crime, called Investing in Place. And then we'll get ready for our exam, which you'll have at the end of the next week, and the beginning of the following. But for right now, video guide, try to get this done before winter break so you can rest easy. With that, I'm done. Have a great holiday. Enjoy your break. I'm not going to say I'm going to see you next year because that's annoying. But I will see you after break in January. I hope all is well. Go Spartans.